My name is Margaret, and I have learned something about being old. People don't always see your fear. They see your wrinkles, your slow steps, your careful movements. They assume you are used to everything by now. They assume you are brave. They assume that after 72 years, nothing can truly shake you. But the truth is, fear doesn't disappear with age. Sometimes it becomes quieter, sometimes it becomes more private, and sometimes it appears in the places you least expect, like a hospital room, when the lights are too bright and the air smells like clean sheets and medicine, and you suddenly realize you are there alone. That was the day a nurse held my hand. It started early in the morning before the world outside my window fully woke up. I had been awake for hours already, not because I wanted to be, but because worry makes sleep impossible. My body felt heavy, my stomach unsettled, and my mind kept replaying small, frightening thoughts like a loop. What if something goes wrong? What if I don't wake up? What if I wake up and no one is there? I tried to calm myself the way older women do. I made tea, I sat near the window, I stared at the street as the sky slowly changed color. I told myself that I was being silly. It was only a small procedure. The doctor had said it was routine. Everyone always says routine when they want you to stop worrying. But a hospital is never routine in the heart. Hospitals hold too much. They hold endings and beginnings. They hold good news and terrible news. They hold people in their most fragile moments. And when you are elderly, you know too much. You know how quickly health can change. You know how easily life can slip. I packed a small bag, slowly, carefully, folding my cardigan, placing my toothbrush in a little pouch, adding a book I knew I wouldn't read. I put in my prayer book, too, because prayer feels like something solid when everything else feels uncertain. My daughter had called the night before. Her voice sounded tired. "Mom," she said, "I'm so sorry. We have the kids and your brother's coming over to fix something. I don't know if we can make it early." I didn't want her to hear the disappointment in my voice, so I forced gentleness. "It's all right," I said. "It's just a small thing. I'll be fine." Then my son called later. He sounded breathless. "Mom, I might be late," he said. "Work is crazy, but I'll try." Again, I said the same word, fine. That word is useful. It makes other people feel less guilty. It makes them believe you are stronger than you feel. But after the calls ended, I sat alone with my tea and realized something painful. Even when you are loved, you can still be alone. My family loves me, I know that. They are not cruel, they are not careless. Life is simply full for younger people. They are pulled in 10 directions. They have responsibilities, schedules, bills, noisy houses. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking about their reasons. I was thinking about my fear. I was thinking that I might lie in a hospital bed without a familiar face nearby. That thought made my chest tighten. When the taxi arrived, I walked out with my bag in my hand, the morning air cool against my cheeks. I tried to breathe deeply and remind myself that I was still in control, that this was only a day, only a few hours, only a routine visit. But as I approached the hospital, the building looked too large, too white, too serious. Hospitals don't smile at you. They stand there like truth. Inside, everything smelled like disinfectant. The lights overhead were bright and unforgiving. I checked in at the desk, my voice sounding smaller than I wanted. The receptionist smiled politely, typed quickly, and handed me a bracelet. Then I sat in the waiting area, holding my handbag on my lap like it was a shield. Other people sat nearby, too. A young man staring at the floor, a woman holding paperwork, a couple whispering. Everyone looked nervous, even if they tried to hide it. For a moment, I felt comfort in that. I wasn't the only one afraid. But then my name was called. Margaret. I stood slowly and followed the nurse down the corridor. Hallways in hospitals have a particular sound. Soft footsteps, distant beeping, murmured voices behind doors. It feels like walking through someone else's life. The nurse led me into a room and told me to change into a gown. She spoke kindly but efficiently, like this was ordinary for her. For me, it wasn't ordinary. I changed slowly, folding my clothes carefully, as if keeping them neat would keep my life neat too. I sat on the edge of the bed, cold paper crinkling beneath me. My legs looked thin. My hands looked old. The gown felt too open, too vulnerable. That is what sickness does. It makes you feel exposed. I checked my phone. No new messages, no calls, just silence. I stared at the blank screen and felt tears threaten, but I swallowed them down. I told myself again, Margaret, don't be dramatic. Then another message arrived from my daughter. Mom, we can't come today. I'm so sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. My heart sank. Not because she didn't love me, she did, but because the fear I had tried to ignore was now real. I was alone. I put the phone down gently and stared at the wall. I felt small. I felt old. I felt like a child pretending to be brave. And I whispered to myself, "It's okay, you can do this." But my voice shook slightly. A few minutes later, the door opened. A nurse stepped in. She looked at my face for a moment, not just a quick glance, but a real look. And then she said softly, "Are you here alone today?" That simple question, spoken with kindness, made something inside me crack. And then she said softly, "Are you here alone today?" That simple question, spoken with kindness, made something inside me crack. I didn't answer immediately. My lips parted, but no words came out, because the truth felt too heavy to say out loud. Yes, I was alone. Not alone in life. My family existed. My children loved me. But alone in this moment. Alone in this bright hospital room with the thin blanket and the sharp smell of disinfectant. Alone in the kind of fear that makes your hands feel cold. The nurse stepped closer, our movements gentle, and she lowered her voice as if she didn't want the room to feel too large. "It's all right," she said. "You're safe here." Safe. I wanted to believe that word, but hospitals are strange places. You can be safe and still feel frightened. You can be cared for and still feel vulnerable. I nodded slowly, trying to keep my face calm. My family couldn't come, I admitted quietly. The nurse's expression softened with understanding, not judgment. She didn't give me that look some people give older patients, the look that says, "Oh, that's sad." She didn't pity me. She simply accepted it as a real human moment. "That happens sometimes," she said gently. "Life gets complicated." Her honesty surprised me. Most people try to comfort you with pretty words. She comforted me with truth. She checked my chart, asked me small questions about allergies and pain, and moved around the room doing her work. But the entire time she stayed present, not rushed, not distant, present. I watched her, and something in me relaxed slightly. I could tell she was good at this, not just the medical part, but the human part. When she finished checking my blood pressure, she looked at me again. "What's your name?" she asked, even though it was written on my bracelet. "Margaret," I said. "Margaret," she repeated, as if tasting the name with respect. "That's a beautiful name." No one had said that to me in a long time. Then she asked, "Do you want me to stay with you a moment before they take you?" Just that. "Do you want me to stay?" Her words felt like a warm blanket over my fear. I nodded again, unable to speak properly now. My eyes filled instantly, and I turned my face slightly to hide it, but she saw anyway. And instead of acting awkward, instead of pretending she didn't notice, she stepped closer and gently pulled a chair beside my bed. She sat down, like she had nowhere else to be for those few minutes. Her presence felt so unusual that it made my throat tighten again. Because in hospitals you expect efficiency. You expect people to do their job and move on. You don't expect someone to offer quiet companionship to an elderly woman who is scared. The nurse smiled softly. "Elena," she said, "I'll be here for you today." Elena. Her name felt warm, too. I breathed in slowly and tried to steady myself. "Thank you," I whispered. She nodded. "I can tell you're trying to be brave, but you don't have to be perfectly brave." Those words hit my heart, because that was exactly what I had been doing, trying to be perfectly brave. Brave for my children, brave for the doctor, brave for the world, brave so no one would worry, brave because older women are supposed to handle things quietly. But Elena saw through all of that. She saw the trembling underneath. My tears spilled over then, quiet and uncontrollable. I didn't sob loudly. I simply broke into soft crying, my shoulders shaking slightly. "I'm sorry," I said quickly, ashamed. "I don't know why I'm like this." Elena shook her head. "No," she said firmly, but gently. "Don't apologize. This is normal. You're human." Human. That word felt the deepest comfort, because sometimes older people stop feeling human in medical places. They become charts, blood pressure numbers, procedures. They become the patient in room 3. And hearing someone remind you that you are human, it changes everything. Elena reached out then. She didn't hesitate. She simply took my hand. Her hand was warm and steady. Mine was thin, wrinkled, cold. When her fingers wrapped around mine, I felt my entire body respond like a child being held. And in that moment, I realized something heartbreaking. I had not been held like that in years. Not truly, not with that quiet assurance. I squeezed her hand lightly, and my tears came harder, still quiet, still dignified, but deeper, like something ancient inside me was finally allowed to release. "It's just scary," I admitted between breaths. "It's scary when you're old and things can go wrong." Elena nodded slowly. "I know," she said. 2 words again, but full of empathy. "I don't want to be a burden," I whispered. Elena looked directly at me. "You are not a burden," she said. "You are a person who deserves care." I swallowed hard. My entire life I had tried to make myself easy. Easy for my husband, easy for my children, easy for everyone. I learned early that being easy kept peace. Being easy meant you didn't ask for too much. Being easy meant people liked you. But in that room, with Elena holding my hand, I realized how exhausting it is to spend a lifetime trying to take up as little space as possible. Elena's grip remained steady. She didn't check her phone. She didn't rush. She didn't look bored. She simply sat with me as if my fear mattered. Then she spoke softly. "Margaret," she said, "I've met many patients. Do you know what the bravest ones do?" I shook my head slightly. They let themselves be cared for. That sentence felt like a door opening in my chest. Because yes, letting someone care for you requires trust. It requires vulnerability. It requires surrender. And surrender is frightening, but it is also healing. A knock came at the door. Another nurse stepped in, saying it was time. My stomach tightened again. I felt fear return like a cold wave. Elena leaned in closer. "I'm going to walk with you," she whispered. She stood and kept holding my hand, even as I adjusted myself on the bed, even as the wheels began to move, even as we entered the corridor with its cold lights and distant beeping. Her hand stayed around mine. We rolled through the hallway, and for the first time since arriving, I didn't feel like a forgotten old woman. I felt like someone worth protecting. As we reached the door to the procedure area, Elena squeezed my hand firmly. "You are not alone," she said. My eyes filled again. I nodded. I wanted to tell her that her kindness mattered more than she could imagine, that her hand was doing more than comforting me. It was restoring something in me I didn't realize I'd lost. Dignity. But there wasn't time. They took me in. Elena let go only when she had to, and just before she stepped away, she looked at me and said one last thing, soft and certain. "I'll be right here when you wake up." Those words followed me like a light as they rolled me into the procedure room. The ceiling above me was white and endless, sliding past as the bed moved forward. The air felt colder in there. The sounds were sharper, machines, voices, footsteps. I tried to focus on Elena's promise, "Right here when you wake up." I repeated it silently like a prayer. A doctor leaned over me and spoke calmly, explaining what would happen. I nodded as if I understood everything, but my heart was too busy being afraid. My palms were damp, my mouth felt dry, and yet, underneath the fear, I noticed something else. Comfort. Because Elena had made me feel like a person, not just a patient. They asked me to count backward. My voice sounded thin, but I obeyed. 10, 9, 8. The room blurred at the edges, and then everything softened into darkness. When I woke up, the first thing I felt was heaviness, the deep, heavy feeling of anesthesia leaving the body. My eyes fluttered open slowly. Light looked dimmer than before, as if I were seeing the world through water. I heard soft beeping. I smelled clean sheets. I felt dryness in my throat. And then I felt warmth against my hand. Someone was holding it. I turned my head slightly, blinking. My vision cleared slowly, and there she was, Elena, sitting beside my bed, her chair pulled close, her hand wrapped gently around mine like she had promised. My chest tightened instantly. Tears rose before I even understood why. She noticed my eyes open and smiled softly. "Hello, Margaret," she whispered. "You did very well." For a moment, I couldn't speak. I just stared at her, stunned by the simple fact that she kept her promise, that she stayed, that she didn't disappear into the rush of hospital life. My lips trembled. "You," I managed, my voice hoarse. "I'm here," she said. That sentence broke me again. It was such a small thing, and yet it felt like the biggest kindness I had received in years. Tears slipped from my eyes. I tried to wipe them away with my free hand, embarrassed. Elena gently shook her head. "It's all right," she said. "Let them come." So I did. I cried quietly, as softly as I had cried earlier, but this time the tears felt different. These were not only fear tears, they were gratitude tears, relief tears, the kind of tears that come when your heart realizes it has been cared for. After a few minutes, my breathing steadied. Elena handed me a tissue and adjusted my blanket carefully, as if I mattered. "You are safe," she said again, like she wanted the word to settle into my bones. I nodded slowly. My hand still rested in hers. I didn't want to let go yet. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't strange. It was simply human. One person holding another person in a moment of vulnerability. Later, when I was more awake, she asked if I wanted water. She helped me sip slowly. She asked about my pain level. She made sure I was comfortable. But more than that, she spoke to me as if I was someone she respected. Not like a child, not like an inconvenience, like a whole person. My phone buzzed at some point. Elena glanced at it and then back at me. "Do you want to check it?" she asked. I nodded. My fingers felt clumsy, but I managed to lift the phone. Messages from my daughter and my son were waiting. "How are you? Are you okay? I'm sorry again. I love you." I stared at them and felt a wave of mixed emotion. Love and loneliness. Care and distance. I wrote back slowly, "I'm awake, I'm okay, don't worry." Then I paused and added one more sentence, because after everything that happened, I didn't want to hide anymore. I was scared today. I sent it before I could change my mind. Elena watched me gently, and I could tell she understood what that message meant. It wasn't an accusation, it was truth, and truth can be healing when spoken kindly. A little later, Elena said, "Would you like me to call your family and update them? Sometimes they need reassurance too." I nodded, and while she spoke on the phone, I listened. Her voice was calm and professional, but still warm. She didn't shame them, she didn't make them feel guilty. She simply explained that I was fine and recovering. She spoke about me as if I was precious. After she hung up, she sat back down and looked at me softly. "They love you," she said. "I know," I whispered. Then, surprising myself, I added, "But love doesn't always feel close." Elena's eyes softened. "That's true," she said quietly, "especially when everyone is busy. But today, love did come to you. It just came in a different uniform." Her words made me smile through tears. "In a different uniform," I repeated. Elena smiled back. "Yes," she said, "sometimes kindness arrives like that." As the hours passed, I grew stronger. The heaviness in my body became lighter. The fear faded into relief. And through it all, Elena's presence remained like a calm river. Before her shift ended, she stood beside my bed and adjusted my pillow one last time. "I'll be leaving soon," she said gently, "but another nurse will take good care of you." A strange sadness rose in me. Not because she was family, but because she had touched my life in a way that mattered. I reached for her hand again. "Thank you," I whispered. Elena squeezed my fingers. "It was an honor, Margaret." Honor. What a powerful word. Not job, not duty. Honor. After I returned home a day later, my family visited. They hugged me, they brought food, they apologized again, and I forgave them because I understood life is complicated. But something had changed inside me. I no longer believed that kindness comes only from family. Sometimes kindness comes from strangers. Sometimes kindness comes from a nurse who chooses to hold your hand when she doesn't have to. Sometimes kindness restores your dignity. That evening, after everyone left, I sat by my window with tea. Warm light touched my silver hair. My body was tired, but my heart felt strangely full. I thought about Elena and her steady hand, and I realized something simple, something I want everyone to remember. Being cared for is not weakness. Needing comfort is not shame. Even at 72, even with wrinkles and age spots and tired bones, I still deserved gentleness. If you are listening to my story right now, please remember this. The smallest kindness can save someone's day or even their spirit. Hold someone's hand, look into their eyes, speak to them like a human being, especially the elderly, especially those who are frightened but pretending they're fine. Because sometimes all it takes is one warm hand to remind a lonely heart that it is still seen. That night, I rested in my chair by the window with a soft, peaceful smile, because even when my family couldn't come, a nurse held my hand, and I will never forget it.